good evening. I need to get a hold of management around here and tell them to tell that host to quit smoking weed right before he goes on, because he just sits there and coughs for like 2-3 minutes before he goes live. And, we need to get to the bottom of that really quick. So if you don't mind, manager. Anyway, wow, crazy news today. Wow. So the war drums, as I said in the title, are definitely beating louder. Mind you, those war drums aren't necessarily in the form of munitions, okay? In fact, at this particular point in time in the scenario, the big weapon being used right now are, financial tools, if you will, economic tools. And there was a lot of steps taken just within the last 24 hours when it comes to that. There is so much going on. At the same time, we're looking at everything, all that mess that's happening over there and everything else that's spun off from it. Of course, we still have the People's Convoy going on strong here. And with all this stuff going on, I look at the reality of the situation. I understand from the headlines, like such things as, some countries may start trading oil in yuan, the Chinese yuan. So essentially, if you have a group of countries move from the petrodollar and move over to a petro yuan, that is going to put us in a very bad position quickly. Well, one thing that often happens when countries start putting each other in severe economic turmoil, such as in what's happening right now, they go to war. And so, I was sitting there thinking about it all. I've been thinking about all of this for quite some time. I mean, every day I go back through and I take a new stock of everything in my mind. I reassess every situation, and in the end, most days, this is how I wind up feeling.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine.
Hell yeah. The reason why I feel that way, and it may seem a bit cynical, and it is, I put up a poll before the show, and I'm going to take a peek at where it's at currently. Okay. And that's exactly where I figure it's, going to fall in between. 2 votes so far. The poll was, what do you think gives the most advantage in SHTF? Learning/doing the things, buying the things, having a cool personality, because, hey, some people seem to think that that's going to help them the most, and prior challenging lifestyle. In other words, you've just had a rough life, right? Whether it be things like homelessness or what have you, just a prior lifestyle that would prepare you for rough times. And so it is where I figured the poll would be. I'll check it again at the end of the show and see what it has to say. But that's pretty much what I figured. That is why I'm not sweating. Okay, well, physically I am, because it's freaking hot in here. I opened the window right before I started the show. But as far as the situation that the world is in, yeah, just like the song says, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. There's a reason why I feel fine. And it kind of all goes into me and what makes me tick, who I am. I've personally, when it comes to the list of things there, well, I've never had a cool personality, so that's out. And at times in my life, I've never had I didn't have to worry about having the money to buy the things, because I could, but that time's not now. Mostly learning and doing the things, and a prior challenging lifestyle. Now, when I say prior challenging lifestyle, I'm not talking about homelessness. I'm not talking about starvation or malnutrition or anything like that. But my dad taught me something when I was young, and it was probably the most used advice that he had ever given me. And he said, "Son, you better figure out how to do this yourself." Okay, but I don't care. And I remember having that conversation with him. Me and my dad had issues because I was a jackass, and I was stubborn as all hell. And I was smart. I was smart as a whip, and that caused problems. That caused problems because I was also bold. And my dad was a very strict type of parent, right? He says something, you better be on your way doing it before he's done saying it. That was pretty much my dad's attitude. And I guess really my first lesson, I guess, if you will, on being able to work under stress was my dad. My dad was rough, and he had no room for stupidity, no room for nonsense, and he didn't even have room a lot of times for mistakes, really. Like, if you were helping him do something, work on something, and something would happen, that was in your direction, so to speak, whether it was really your fault or not, he was kind of an ass. And that's why I didn't really care to work on a whole lot of stuff. I loved the learning part of it, but I couldn't handle his anger. He was very easily and quickly angered. And that's one thing I didn't do well with. But anyway, I think all of that had put me in a prior challenging lifestyle as far as working under stress in that manner. But in the overall, if you will, physical sense of it, when he told me that I better learn how to do it, he was right, because I never had the money to pay somebody to work on my cars. I never had the money to pay for people to do this or that for me. If I wanted it, I had to do it myself. And I think I kind of fall in both of those categories there, the learning / doing the things and the prior challenging lifestyle, because I had to do that stuff, right? For instance, let me give you another example, and this may sound silly, but if you're somebody that's had to work on things very much, you're going to know where I'm coming from. Being able to adapt when it comes to, let's say, performing a task, not having quite the right tool to get the job done. Being able to figure out a way to use what you do have to make it work. Those are huge things. Things like that are game changers, especially in a post-SHTF world. So that's kind of why I'm strong when I talk about, prior challenging lifestyle, maybe teetering that a little bit over learning and doing the things. Because if you lived a prior, challenging lifestyle, there are several things that you're going to understand better than the average person. And they're most likely going to be the bare bones things that you need to survive. Not in all cases, but in many. I mentioned that I'm kind of cynical with my attitude towards it all, and I am. I am. I have been involved in this. I've been doing prepping. Prepping's been on my mind for a very long time. I will tell you over a decade. And when I say over a decade, just over a decade is when I started actually putting things back. Now, as I've said many times before, I went through a divorce. I lost everything I had. So just because I started over a decade ago doesn't mean I have all that stuff. I had to restart over again from pretty much nothing, and we've built what we have now. And it's not a ton of stuff, but it is what it is. I've done what I could, and I guess I've reached a point in all of it, going back to the being cynical, to where I've got our little, whatever you want to call it, our little hump. You know, I always tell people to make sure you at least have enough food and supplies to get past the hump. Well, what's the hump? Well, I don't know. And I can't tell you that. You have to determine what hump you're preparing for. Okay? Dry hump. No, I'm kidding. Jen's over here laughing, so I had to say that. You have to prepare for the type of hump you expect, whether that's going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years. You have to make that decision, and, you just have to work with it. If it so happens that you prepare for 3 months and you should have prepared for 6, well, that's what happens. And so, yeah, of course I wish we were much more prepared than what we are. But we've got space limitations as well. So, but anyway, we're probably about as well ready as what we're gonna get. But I've reached a point that I don't think we're gonna get very many more people on board. If people haven't been able to, over the past 2 years, say, hey, wait a minute here, I couldn't wipe my ass for 2 months because I couldn't buy toilet paper at the Walmarts. If people didn't see things like that going on and something clicked in their head, I don't know what to tell them, but I do know one thing. I don't feel sorry for what's going to happen. That may sound rough, but I at one time tried to worry about everybody. And I wound up, it was a weakness. That was a weakness. And I always tell people balance. And some things I'm really good with at balancing, other things not so much. But this is one of those areas I think I do really, really well at. And it just, you can't help those that won't be helped. Plain and simple. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm worn down from the way that the world is. Just general, everyday, the way that the world is. We all know that it's a bunch of crap. It's not right. And I don't think it's going to get substantially better without some type of major change. Major shakeup, in the very least. That would be the very least. So I welcome NSHTF. And I understand that I'm probably in that mindset because I haven't been living in the best position in life for the past, God knows how long. Some of that was my fault. Absolutely. But nothing serious. I mean, definitely not something that I should wind up being set back as far as what I am today. What do I mean by that? Well, mostly and this ain't anybody else's fault. This ain't anybody's fault. My health went to crap. And, we live in a society that the only time that you're respected is if you're productive. And the society, well, it was just that, and then it changed, then it morphed. It wasn't about just being productive. You had to be productive in the manner that other people felt you should be productive. That's the society that we live in today. And if you're not productive in any one of those areas, well, you're just a scumbag. Mind you, many of the people that are walking around with this attitude and this mindset couldn't change the oil in their own car. Some of them couldn't change their own tire. And that's why I had to throw the one in there about having a cool personality. Because this is even true with the prepper channels. There's a lot of prepper channels out there, and boy, they boast that cool personality. But I'm one of these things. I'm one of those people that I believe that you should lead, right? If you're gonna lead, right? Don't just spew a bunch of stuff that sounds good, but don't follow the advice yourself. If you're going to be out here telling other people to do this stuff, you should be doing it too. Just kind of the way I feel. And there are a fair amount of channels out there that they're not doing as much as they're putting on they're doing. But they're sure sounding cool. And they can afford to buy the things. And be careful of that. Be careful of that. But that's why I'm cynical. Those reasons are kind of why I have a cynical attitude towards it, because, for one, people should have noticed something in the last 2 years was off enough that they ought to start looking into maybe putting a few things back. Number one. Number two, people's attitudes, whether it be on either side of it, and I'm going to be talking about like with prepper channels and stuff, whether it be the viewers or whether it be the channels, the creators, that think that being cool is more important than actually knowing the information. Okay? Plain and simple. I'm going to give you an example. Any channel, and one I know did it, it came back to me, they did it, the Angry Prepper, any channel that would put down another channel for telling you not to listen to these fake ass people, to gain the knowledge and the education to actually know this stuff, know what this stuff is talking about. And in those particular instances, I was talking about electrical. I was talking about with the solar generator stuff, right? I loved his reply, by the way, when I called him out on his YouTube channel. But then I got the whatever other kind. So, and I'm thinking, and I didn't reply, and I'm thinking, yeah. So you wasted what, over $1,000 of other people's money that listened to you and ran out and bought the jackery and the solar panels. And now that you learn the hard way, and all of them learn the hard way, your attitude towards that is, so they're not getting a bunch of money from YouTube to go out and buy this stuff, nor are these companies sending them freebies to get on there and run your mouth about that you know nothing about. That's what I'm talking about. That's the having a cool personality that I'm talking about. And those people that are either creating that kind of content and or those that are following those people are likely not going to fare well. Because they may know how to turn things on and plug things in, but they don't know how to repair it when it breaks. And it's important, folks, and the reason why I kind of wanted to take a step back from the way I've been doing the news and I wanted to talk about this is because, folks, it's time to shit or get off the pot. Things are moving at a pace and in a direction. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know when my last time to be able to communicate with you is going to be. It could be tonight, it could be tomorrow, it might be next year. I don't know. But I know there are things being put on my heart to say, because we ain't got much time left before things get real stupid. I have a feeling that just one of those ways that things are going to get really stupid is going to be the loss of our communication, meaning the internet. And that would be an easy one. Because if we lose the power grid, that's going to be a lot more ugly than just losing the internet. But if we lose the internet, oh boy, are we in for a rough time. So, and none of us know, none of us have a clue when or what is going to happen. But I do think that we're right on the cusp of it. Because of the different moves that are being made by different governments, they don't have many more options left. They're pretty much out of every tool that they have at their disposal to convince another country to do as they want them to do without actually going into conflict, to physical conflict. And don't misunderstand me. When I say physical conflict, I don't just mean boots on the ground or planes in the air. I also mean something like cyber attacks. Now, I get that that's not boots on the ground, planes in the air, but it is still an actionable event. It's still something that actually happened. It's not just banter, or it's not just somebody being sanctioned, because let me tell you what, when it comes to all these sanctions, yeah, I don't put a whole lot into them, and the reason why I don't put a whole lot into them is because they don't put a whole lot into them, okay? Most of these people, you're not hurting them. When you sanction these individuals, they've got ways to get their things. They're not worried about it. It's just a diplomatic, bureaucratic, red tape, kind of a boo-boo on your head kind of stupidity. It really amounts to nothing, okay? However, when you see the level of it that is happening now, yeah, things can start to get a little bit more serious, but I think there's even more events that's going to unfold here shortly. And no, I have no idea what that is, but believe me, we're far from done with this whole situation over there. And wow. So I talked about all that. I talked about what I had on my heart to say, and I want to talk just a little bit about the convoy, what went on with that today. I don't have a whole lot to say because it would be hard to really say a whole lot about today, and I'll explain why. Trying to think. You know, all in all, folks, just make sure you're getting ready. The reason for the poll was mostly just to get people's gears turning, and maybe to help motivate them into getting things done, you know, getting their tasks checked off. I don't think we've got a lot of time. And I am not saying that to fearmonger or anything. I've never in my life ever intended to do that with this channel. But I'm a realist. And I'm being very real with you when I say that time is short. And I don't know what it is that's going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and act like I know all the answers, because I don't even know the beginning of them. But something big, something huge is right around the corner. And I have a feeling that it's going to cost the lives of many people that weren't ready. I think people, especially in the United States, I think they have a lot of false sense of security. Because we've been able to live that way, and God bless that. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, but that is an abnormality. So, we've had our good years. It's just like anything else, it's got cycles. We're going to have a period of rough years. But I have a feeling that the period that we're coming up on is probably going to go over the top of, say, the Depression. I think it's going to be worse than World War I, World War II. And I'm speaking even as a citizen aspect. I'm not speaking as a soldier in war. I'm speaking as for the citizen. I think it's going to be worse than all of those. And again, I'm not trying to fearmonger or anything. I'm just looking at the situation realistically for what it is. I understand the resource game, and I understand that we have a whole lot more people now than what they had then. And I understand that we don't have the methods of say, producing food handy. We'll say manually, or, even with like horses, mules, stuff like that. Nonetheless, we don't have that equipment, and we don't have the people trained to use that equipment, nor do we have the animals to use that equipment, not on a large scale, to be able to just bounce back. It would take a long time to put all that together. I'm talking about how we eat, folks. So, we really need to understand. We really need to be realistic with ourselves and understand that an SHTF for us, or I should say a reversion back to, say, Depression type of times or World War II type of times today, are going to be far more devastating than what they were then. Because the amount of people and the lack of things, everything, food, supplies, everything that people are going to need to survive. I know a lot of people have this romance story of grabbing their rifle or what have you and hitting the woods, or grabbing their fishing pole and hitting the lake. That ain't going to last very long. It ain't going to last long before those woods are hunted out, those lakes are fished out. Not going to take long at all. On top of that, as those resources become more and more dwindling, it's going to be more and more risky to acquire and transport them. So, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. I don't know if there's a whole lot of us that are actually prepared enough to go back for too far for too long. There are some, but man, I'm telling you, every little thing, you gotta understand, simple things, what should be simple, like, say, preserving meat. Well, if you don't have, electricity, if you don't have a power grid, and you don't have refrigeration going, probably about the best way you're going to preserve meat, aside from, say, smoking, is going to be using salt, right? And we don't have all that arranged at this particular time. What do I mean, have that arranged? Well, I don't know where my nearest salt mine is. I have no idea. And could they operate I know nothing about this, and I'm being honest with you. This is an area that I don't know. But I know that I need that salt. Now, sure, I've got salt here. Not a whole lot. I've got some in there. Definitely not enough to say I'm prepped on it, though, I'll tell you that much. But what about that? Right? Do you know where your nearest salt mine is? Where would you get salt? That's a rather important supply. So, and I'm just giving you one example of one supply that is critical. That I don't know how many. I don't know who does. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that could raise their hand. Oh yeah, I go down the road to the salt mine. Well, there's none here that I know of. And I'd be willing to bet that the majority of us have no idea where the nearest salt mine is to us. Hopefully I'm starting to get some gears turning. It's not going to be a cakewalk for anybody. Even those of us that's been involved in it for a long period of time. Because there's a lot of things, right? That hindsight is always 20/20, and sometimes it can be a real bite in the ass. But there's a lot of things that I think many of us don't take in consideration, especially when it comes to something long-term, or permanent, semi-permanent SHDF. So anyway, I guess I'll start running through headlines. I don't know what else to really add to any of that. Oh, I was going to talk about the convoy a little bit, and I didn't. Sorry. Okay, so it started out this morning, as you've seen the thumbnail picture, it started out this morning with a Skydiver, and I guess he a supporter of a local person that supports what they're doing, and wanted to pay his respects or pay his tribute by skydiving with an American flag. And you see a screenshot of that on the thumbnail today. That was really cool. It was really, really cool, and I probably should have had it brought up so that you could see it, be witness to it, because it was really cool. But and this wasn't pre-planned or anything like that. As he started, as he got the flag out, I should say, as he dropped the flag out and was continuing to fly down, what was it they started singing? I want to make sure I get it right. Was it Star Spangled Banner? Think of it as Star Spangled Banner. Anyway, I think it was Star Spangled Banner. But it was just one of the most beautiful moments you could imagine, because there were a fair amount of people out there, and I think it got everybody out there was singing, and it really sounded good. The visuals were good. It was awesome. It was truly, truly awesome. I don't know. I bet I could probably pull that up pretty easily. Hang on here. Let me try to do that real quick, if you don't mind. I think it was pretty killer, and I'm in no big hurry, but I better resize the screen back. Okay, so 21. 12 hours ago, 21, hang on, sorry, 20, 21, okay, this should be it. Copy link address, have to go put it in a different browser here. Ah, and this is it. Sweet. And I even had it, I even had it almost to the spot, so. There we go. Let me turn the volume down a little bit so it's not blaring in your ear and you might want to see it. Oh, it's going to give me ads too. Dang it. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, quit it. I don't care. Thank you. Bye.
Saves about 4,000 feet right now. He's getting the American flag out. Here it comes, guys. So proudly we hailed as the firelight's last gleam, whose was Christ and Christ stars through the perilous time. For the man Mars we was, were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night. Their flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Was that not awesome? I thought that was, I don't know, that was definitely a highlight. When they did that, wow. It sent chills through me this morning, and I love it. So that's how the day started out with the convoy. Things got a little bit hectic later on, and I don't understand 100% of what all went on. From what I understand, what they were going to do, I don't know what they were going to do. Because, see, last night, they put out their route that they were going to go today, right? And then today, this morning, they put out updated instructions, and they didn't have a route, but what they did have was an instruction, and that instruction was follow the leader. So, I guess that Brian and Mike were one step ahead. I'm assuming that because this was brilliant. Because when they got to the 395, okay, as I talked about it yesterday, 495's the loop, and I don't know this area. I just know it from what's going on here. But 495, they call it the loop. It goes around D.C. Yesterday, what they did is they took 495 around the loop to 395, okay? They got on 395, which went essentially like kind of diagonal through, right? 395, and then that meets, I believe, up to 295, and then that'll take them back on to 495 to where they can go around, continue the loop, and then go back like they did yesterday. However, when they got to going down 495, when they got to 395, law enforcement had it blocked off. So they couldn't even get on to 395. Now, you would have to probably be some type of genius person with geography and probably mathematics to be able to explain what happened after that, because, wow. it wore me out trying to watch multiple different streams, multiple different people in multiple different positions of the convoy, trying to figure out who in the hell was where. It was interesting. It was very interesting today. And you could tell that the government was doing everything they could to trip them up, including, and I was kind of nervous for the truckers during a part of it, because the police essentially forced them to go on a road the trucks weren't supposed to go on. And I was concerned that they were going to trap those people, those truck drivers, because, you know, there was a lot of cars too, but I was worried they were going to pick up those truck drivers for driving on that road they weren't supposed to be driving on, even though they were forced onto it. So, it was kind of funny. They got out of that mess, and I want to say they made their way back over to 495. Again, I don't get what all happened today. I would need a map and all kinds of different colored pencils. And so I think they got back to 495, but somehow they made their way back around to 395 somehow. I don't know how that happened, but it wasn't blocked. They weren't blocking it at that time. So they took it. So even though the government tried to prevent them from taking the route that they went yesterday, meaning driving past the Pentagon and the Washington Monument and all of that, even though they did a good job of deflecting them so that they couldn't do that, well, they still got to do it anyway. It was hilarious. When I realized what happened, when I realized that they got themselves worked back around to 395 and got to go where they wanted to go anyway, oh, I was dying laughing. That was hilarious. So I don't know what's in store for tomorrow. I know that they had a meeting with the specifically a meeting with the four-wheelers and the campers, the cars, trucks, campers, because tomorrow is going to be, they're the ones that have the important job tomorrow. And so I have no idea what that's going to be, but I'm looking very, very forward to watching it unfold. Let's see. Other than that, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I could only tell you so much. I find it very interesting, though, and I mentioned this in a comment on another YouTube channel video that they had put up. And he had put up a video, and I'll speak to this as well. He put up a video talking about essentially, like, you know, there's people here in the United States now talking about going over to Ukraine. And he didn't, I don't think he said anybody in particular, but I will. I don't give a shit. He had mentioned one particular situation, or, you know, where or several people were talking about wanting to go over there and train, to go to Ukraine to train Ukrainian. Well, I'm sure he probably seen the video from Warrior Poet Society, and that probably prompted him to make that video. If you don't know, Warrior Poet Society did an interview with James Yeager, and if you don't know, James Yeager is suffering from ALS, and you know, of course, that's definitely not good news. And essentially, James has decided that he wants to go over to Ukraine and train people. Well, you know, essentially what the channel I was watching was saying is folks really need to watch, falling for the propaganda and all this stuff and getting all wrapped up in this stuff, in which I agree with them. I think it's crazy. I think James Yeager has other reasons. He's got other motivations for going that he's not going to come right out and say, although he was this close to saying it today when I watched it. I watched the video. Even though he was right there on the cusp of saying it, he didn't. And I think it's kind of one of those unsaid things that if you watch, you'll know what's really going on. And it's sad. But it's his decision, and I don't think it's anybody's right to stand in the way, especially considering what he's dealing with. So, anyway, but I will, I will reiterate that I think it would be foolish to allow yourself to get all emotionally wrapped up in what's going on, especially when, in all reality, you don't know what's really going on, because we can't rely on the news outlets to be straight with us. Not any of them. Not any of them. So it is what it is. It is what it is. We've got things to be concerned about here, and that's kind of what more my point was. I made the comment on this YouTube channel about how, here we have, and I'm speaking about the People's Convoy, here we have something big going on right here in the United States, right on DC's doorstep, right? And you've got all these prepper channels that are all talking about Ukraine and war and all that. But here something's happening in their own yard, and they're not even talking about it. And I think people should ask them why. I think people should start asking these channels why. I can tell you why. Because there is nowhere they can go and read a couple of articles and then get online and bullshit you for an hour that they know what the hell they're talking about. You have to put your time in. If you want to know what's going on with the People's Convoy, you have to put your time in. You have to watch the live streams, or at least the meetings. Say the morning meeting, the evening meeting. Even just watching those two things, you would get enough of an idea, to at least be able to talk about it. But they're not going to do that. That's too much work. So, it is what it is. I was kind of calling out that in the comments. But, yeah, on the other thing, don't let yourself get wrapped up and distracted with things that they want you wrapped up and distracted with. And that's exactly what Ukraine is on one level. It's Ukraine, and all of that mess has several different levels that it benefits them in so many different ways, but just one of those ways is it's a good distraction for Biden, because if you're looking at how terrible Putin is, you might not be looking at how terrible Biden is. So that's a big part of it. Another part of it is it comes back to Biden, and it comes back to Hunter, and it comes back to all that nonsense, and it, just typical scumbag elitism bullshit. That's what it comes back to. That is exactly what the People's Convoy is fighting against. That's why I think it's awful interesting that these channels, prepper channels, that decided to turn themselves into news channels, because, well, once things did start to go south, I think a lot of them realized, and so they decided to turn into news channels so they could continue to try to be relevant, and, it is what it is. And I have nothing against that. But if you're a Johnny-come-lately, don't come breaking through the door like the Kool-Aid man. And that's what I see a lot of. And that's what I take issue with. Because unfortunately, these people are doing damage. I'm talking about the people that are the channels. They'll read a couple articles and then they'll come out all knowing, all seeing. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Anyway, let's see. Have a sip of coffee. We'll get to some headlines. Gotta have a couple of vapes. Oh, man. Telling you. I don't have any tabs open tonight, by the way, because I figured I was going to jibber jabber for a while, so. Oh, man. I'll tell you. starting to figure out. The other day I figured out a little bit more with the Getter platform. Well, see, here's the thing. Okay, hang on here. Oh crap! I'm gonna have to log in. Hang on here. Because I'm on a different browser. That would be why. Okay, let me throw it up there now. Okay. So I figured out Getter, and I just wanted to show this to folks if they didn't know. Okay. So let's say, let me click home here, and let me go to, I don't have a lot of people I follow or anything yet. But I would look at this, right? And I don't know if anybody else has ran into this or not, but I did, and I finally got it figured out. Maybe I'm just slow. But like say right here, live stream of the Capitol meeting. This is what happened today. This is on Getter. The People's Convoy is on Getter. And this was a meeting that happened today. I haven't even watched this video yet. I'll probably put it up after the show because I hadn't seen it yet. I totally didn't know that it was going on. Anyway, you'll see down here, there's like 4 replies. And if you're wondering, oh, what'd they say? Because see, like on Facebook, you can see them. And all you got to do is click see more comments, whatever. Right? But you don't see anything here. So if you click on the comment, it pulls up for you to reply, and you might be like, okay, that's fine, but I wanted to see what everybody else had to say. And I was hung up on that for quite some time until I figured it out. You have to click on the post. If you click on the post, then it will take you to that page where you see the comments, the replies, right? And you can make your reply from here as well. But it works that way. In order to see the comments, you have to click on the post. It doesn't have them listed right under there, nor if you click on the reply thing, it's not going to show them to you. It just brings you up the prompt to reply. You actually have to click on the post, and then when you click on the post itself, then you can see the comments. So I just wanted to pass that along if anybody else was like, okay, how the hell does this work? Because I haven't played on it very much. I don't know that much about Getter. I haven't messed with it much. But that was one thing that kind of turned me away from it. I'm like, well, shit, I can't even read what people are talking about, so that's not very good social media. Maybe I need to read the directions or something. I don't know. I just thought that was weird, though, that you have to actually click on the post and go to its own separate page to read the replies. I have a feeling that's going to turn a lot of people away. But, yeah, it is what it is. And there's a reason for that. I know it doesn't seem a very big deal to click on something so you can get to what you want. But believe me, and I've done experiments, I've talked about doing experiments with this before on websites. There are people, a lot of people, a whole lot of people that won't take one extra step to get to where they want to go. That's a fact. And I've proven it. Chris Bright couldn't believe it. Back when I had the gaming website, simgameit.com. I put up a warning box, right? And it was a warning box that would pop up in the flight simulator. Okay? So your web browser and a website has nothing to do with the flight simulator, right? This was an actual warning box from the flight simulator would pop up when you tried to go to the website, tell you that you couldn't connect to the GameSpy servers, blah, 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 right? And it was a joke because that was a bug with the flight sim is it kept, when you try to connect to GameSpy, it would keep kicking you out. And you'd have to keep trying to connect until it connected. And so it was just a joke. If you went to simgameit.com, that's what happened. It took you to a black page with that warning prompt that popped up. And if you clicked cancel, it would take you back to wherever you were, right? Wherever you were prior. And if you clicked OK, well, it would take you to the website homepage. Now, I can monitor on the back end of a website which pages get how many hits. You would not believe the few amount of people that would click that OK to continue on to the actual website. And it was, I did it as a joke, but at the same time, I did it as a teaching lesson to somebody that was learning about how to build websites and, what makes a successful website versus what makes a website that fails. And so I was trying to teach him some of those things, and I was trying to teach him that you have to make a website very easy to navigate, and you have to make it to where there's as few clicks involved as possible. You have to make it as dumb as you can, basically. And again, a big thing is as few clicks, because if people got to click a couple more things to get what they want versus if they went to another website to get what they want, they're going to go to that other website because even clicking is too much. I don't know. I don't have that attitude, so I have a hard time understanding it. But a lot of society does. And it is what it is. But maybe I don't have that attitude because, well, I've done these kind of things and I know that's just how it works. So I'll probably wind up using Getter a little bit more. And if they add it to like the share things, like on, say, like if RT, for instance, would add it in their share buttons to be able to share to Getter, then I'll absolutely start sharing the news out over there as well. I don't have an issue with the other platforms. The problem is when you go and you are exclusive to these other platforms, say like Rumble, you shot yourself in the foot, because the majority of people are over here on YouTube, and that's just the way it is. Can't do nothing about that. That's just reality. So there's nothing wrong with being over there on Rumble or any of the others or Getter or whatever. There's nothing wrong with being on them. But if you want to be in the places to where you get as much exposure, well, that's going to be your big social media platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, I don't like it more than anybody else. But it is what it is. And, it's really not that bad, folks. Right? Anything that I would have to say about COVID-19 or anything related to COVID-19 that would get my channel, would get me a strike, you already know. You've already talked about it, and it's been beaten into the ground 20 times. Do I need to talk about it? No, I don't. Because you already know. You know, I know, we all know. I don't have to keep talking about it. So, is it that big of a deal? In order for me to be able to keep communicating with you on this platform, just not to talk about that? No, it's not. It's not. Because you already know how I feel. I already know how you feel. There's no need to discuss it anymore. So let them play their stupid little games, and we'll just kind of dance around them topics, and, it is what it is. I know there's, a lot of argument over, a lot of drama, I'll say, over censorship. And while it's an issue and it needs to be dealt with, it needs to be addressed. At least here in the United States at this time, it's not completely preventing us from getting our message out. What about those? And again, okay. Actually, I've been reading these headlines out of RT, so I'm going to mark this up as true. But not propaganda. But, they have talked about, tons, thousands of people being arrested for protesting what's happening with Ukraine over in Russia. And, do we have that going on? No. I've been talking about Convoy every day, right? no issue. The only issue that I had, it wasn't because of the convoy. The reason I got a strike was because Steve Bannon is banned from YouTube. I uploaded a video from Steve Bannon that directly violates YouTube's terms of service. I literally deserved that strike. There ain't nothing I can say. I deserve that. I did wrong in their house. I deserve that strike. Yeah, it's censorship. Absolutely. From the top to the bottom. But again, does it prevent me from telling you what I have to say? Does it prevent you from understanding my position on it? No. Absolutely not. So, I think some individuals carry on a little much about the true effect of the censorship. So, I think we got a lot more coming at us. I think we got serious censorship coming at us. Right now, we can still communicate. I think we're going to be entering a phase of this to where we won't be able to do that any longer. And I think that's going to come on very quickly. Anyway, let me take a sip of coffee, shut up, and read headlines. And yell at a dog. 1 second. She's over there scruffing. I guess because I'm over here just running on at the mouth, and it's past 9 o'clock, and I've been pretty well wrapped up by 9 o'clock here lately. She's about had enough of this bullshit with the news. She's a dog. What's she care? Oh, I love that girl so much. That is the most amazing pet I've ever had. Oh. All right. Everything is stuff that I put out from today, or that I started putting out this morning. China locks down millions as COVID outbreak grows. So, if you think we're totally out of the dark there, I wouldn't go that far yet. And I know, one of the whole objectives of the People's Convoy is to get them to take away the emergency order, right? That was put into effect because of COVID. But I can already tell you that their excuse for why they don't take it away is because, we're going to have another, we're going to have another wave that we deal with, and so we want to be prepared for that. That's the excuse we're going to get. Mark my words. Turkey comments on U.S. Patriot and F-35 plans. I didn't read this one. Meta to train Australian politicians for election. Let me say that again. Let me slow it down and maybe add in a little bit there. Meta, okay, aka Facebook, is going to train, or another word for it is groom, right? Australian politicians for, and they missed a letter here. There's a typo here. Selection. Okay? I just wanted to make sure that headline was received correctly. Turkey comments on, I read that one. U.S. consulate comes under gunfire. U.S. and China react to India's missile launch into Pakistan. CIA prisoner was used as torture prop to teach recruits, says declassified documents. Yeah, so they literally had a guy that they picked out that they would train recruits on. One guy that they would torture over and over and over to teach other people how to torture. I'm not okay with this. I'm not. Absolutely not okay with it. I don't have any answers either. It's not, it's not, and I'm not just trying to cop out of this, but it's not something for me to decide, and the reason why is because I've never served. I've never been a prisoner of war. I've never been even remotely in any of these positions to where I should have a say in this. But I'm not a fan, sitting from my seat, I'm not a fan of torture. I say that, and I can tell you that my mindset is the type of mindset that if I were put in the right position, it'd be no holds barred for me to get information. And so, you know, I don't know. There's just something about it that gives me a bad taste. I don't think the United States has been using it properly. And maybe that's my issue with giving the idea a green light, because it's been abused for so long. Venezuela oil deal not being discussed, the White House says. Well, of course. Meaning they're not going to discuss it with us. I'm sure that there are dealings going on when it comes to that. Zelensky advisor comments on possibility of peace with Russia. Kiev reveals how many military weapons it has handed out to civilians. Japan and U.S. expand sanctions against Russia. India looks to boost non-dollar trade with Russia. Ending dependence on Russian energy will be painful, says Johnson. 8 arrested over protest at mansion linked to Russian oligarch. Germany reveals cost of embargo on Russian energy. Russia wants to scrap dollar-pegged metals market. U.S. comments on possibility of blockading Russian international trade. A cruise ship carrying thousands runs aground. 3 Eastern European prime ministers heading for Kiev. EU piling more sanctions on Russia. President signs law allowing jail time for cooperation with Russia, says Ukraine official. Japan expands list of banned exports to Russia. Air traffic disrupted in Germany. Prosecutors seek new prison term for Navalny. Sabotage attempt on nuclear facility foiled. Russia temporarily halts grain exports. Tulsi Gabbard responds to Russian asset accusations. Romania comments on foreign drone crash. Russian athletes issue ultimatum over political bias. A French Employer Federation rules on business with Russia. Let me have another sip of coffee. Didn't make my pink starburst today. I better get on that tomorrow, because I'll be at the end of that. Let's see. All right. Moscow reveals whether U.S. sanctions would harm Iran deal. Editor investigated over on-air anti-war protests, says media. Russia sanctions U.S. president. UK government wants Russian athletes banned unless they denounce Putin. Pharma giant stops non-essential business in Russia. Russia officially withdraws from Council of Europe. U.S. looks for ways to get heavy Soviet weaponry to Ukraine, says the media. 100,000 Brits sign up to house Ukrainian refugees. A cameraman shot alongside Fox News reporter in Ukraine dies. Ukraine admits it won't be part of NATO. Wonder what their first clue was. Russia unveils sanctions response plan. NATO never looked weaker, says Zelensky. See, now he's striking back at NATO because he knows he's screwed. I mean, screwed. Oculus Rift founder hints at possible involvement in Ukraine conflict. So check this out. I thought this was a little interesting. I didn't really dig deep into this, but even the first paragraph or so says enough. It says Palmer Luckey, the founder of the Oculus Rift VR startup, which I wished I had one of those. I wish I had like at least a Rift S and a big enough video card in my computer to use the Rift S and flight sim. That would be real cool. But anyway, back to the story. Palmer Luckey, the founder of Oculus Rift VR startup, who was pushed out of the company in 2016 when it was acquired by Facebook, is now creating cutting-edge military AI technology with his new company, Enduro. In a recent interview, he dropped a hint that Enduro may be involved in the ongoing military conflict in Ukraine in some capacity. So he's literally, I want you to think about that. He is working with AI technology for the military in Ukraine. And if you don't think that that's already, something that, if to be applied here at home as well, you're crazy. But, yeah, that's, there's a whole lot of things to be said about this particular article. Moscow sanctions Trudeau and Canadian leaders. China responds to sanctions threat. NATO chief announces major strengthening of the alliance. Saudi Arabia considers selling oil in yuan, says the media. Ukraine blasts Israel's unfriendly step. Biden to visit Europe amid Ukraine conflict. Social network fined 17 million euros for privacy breach. Ukraine seeks nuclear allies. No kidding. Because NATO sure in the hell isn't going to really do anything. As long as Putin doesn't touch, a NATO member, as long as they don't do anything against a NATO member, I don't think NATO's going to do anything. And if they do, it will be started by a false flag. Plain and simple. So hell yeah, they're going to be seeking nuclear allies. Senate passes bill that would make daylight savings time permanent. And I know this has been tried before and it's not gone through, but this time it might go through. And now there's just, from my understanding, there's just a debate as to what time to go to. So if this passes, I don't know. It made it sound like in 2023 we would switch over to standard time, because now we're in daylight savings time. Okay, we just went into daylight savings time before we were in standard time. So in 2023 we would go in, and I don't know why it's done like that, but in 2023 when we made our switch to standard, if I understand this correctly, when we made our switch to standard time, it would stay that way. In other words, and there's debate over which one it should be, which time it should be, but the whole point of what I'm saying is the way they explained it, the permanent change would be on the time that we just came out of, standard time, which we just came out of. I would rather it be this time, the time that we just got into, because I like it to be lighter later. But anyway, we'll see. But we'll see if it passes this time. It's been up several times, but never been pushed through. And I think this might even be the furthest it's gotten. Maybe not. I don't know. But I have a feeling there's a good chance of it going through this time. And thank goodness, it's stupid. And then you got some places that don't participate in it and all that. And it's just a big confusing mess and a pain in the ass for everybody. So, you know. Anyway, I'll quit trying. TV editor who staged an on-air protest fined $293. Armenia to establish diplomatic relations with Turkey. Humanitarian flights for Ukraine loaded with weapons, protesting airport workers claim. Poland should get Russia's G20 spot, a minister claims. EU unleashes new sanctions on Russia. And that's that. I can check real quick. Maybe. See if there's anything more. Yeah, there is a couple more. Let me just throw them out to Twitter here, and I'll read them off to you. Let's see. Musk doubles down on Putin fight challenge, and Polish minister wants armed NATO peace mission in Ukraine. So there you go. Now you're all caught up with the headlines for today. Anyway, keep getting ready, folks. I mean wholeheartedly what I said earlier. I don't think we're dealing with a lot of time here. And every single one of us is going to have moments that we're going to want to kick our own asses because we forgot this or we overlooked that. So try to kick yourself in the ass as much as you can right now to try to remember those things. Because, like I say, it's going to be the littlest little things. That's you know, it's not what you know that's going to get you. It's what you don't know that's going to get you. And, you know, all these little things that we don't have to put thought into today because everything's so convenient, that could potentially cost us our lives later. You know, and I just used salt tonight as an example, you know, and I think that's a good example. Where are you going to get your salt? So, anyway, I'm going to get out of here, and God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it again. I hope to see you then. I appreciate you coming tonight. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit, and shalom.